In 1982, a Soviet spacecraft sent back a photograph from the surface of Venus. It's still one of the only clear color images we have from that planet. The probe that took it survived exactly 53 minutes before the heat, the pressure, and the sulfuric acid in the air destroyed it completely. This is the story of Venera 13 and why almost nobody remembers it. Venus looks almost like Earth's twin from space, similar size, similar mass, next door in the solar system. But the surface is a different story. The atmosphere is 90 times thicker than ours. The pressure alone would crush a submarine. The average temperature is around 870 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt lead, and the clouds are made of sulfuric acid. Any spacecraft that lands on Venus is, from the moment it arrives, already dying. By the 1980s, the Soviet Union had already tried to land on Venus more than a dozen times. Most attempts failed before they even reached the surface, crushed, overheated, or lost in transit. But each failure taught Soviet engineers something new about how to survive down there. Venera 13 was built on top of a decade of these lessons. It carried a titanium pressure sphere to protect its instruments, a refrigeration system pre-chilled before entry, and a landing time budget of just 32 minutes, because that's all the engineers believed the probe could survive. Venera 13 launched from Baikonur Cosmodrome on October 30th, 1981. After a 4-month journey, it reached Venus and separated from its carrier spacecraft. The descent took about an hour. A heat shield and parachute slowed it through the thick upper atmosphere, and in the final stretch, the parachute was released entirely, letting the dense air itself act as a brake. It hit the surface at about 25 miles per hour, cushioned by a metal ring built to absorb the impact. The moment it landed, the clock started. Venera 13's refrigeration system had been pre-cooled before entry, buying it extra time before the heat outside won. In its first minutes, it drilled into the Venusian soil, collected a sample, and analyzed it with an onboard spectrometer. It deployed a camera and captured the panorama that would become one of the most famous images in planetary science, a rocky, orange alien landscape lit by a sun that human eyes have never actually seen from that ground. It also recorded the sound of Venus itself, wind, and the faint noise of its own instruments straining against the heat. 53 minutes after landing, Venera 13 stopped transmitting. It had outlived its planned lifespan by more than 20 minutes, longer than any lander before it. The heat had finally overwhelmed its cooling system entirely. Somewhere on the surface of Venus, it's still sitting there today, exactly where it stopped, permanently. We've sent more spacecraft to Mars than to Venus, even though Venus is closer, mostly because Mars is survivable and Venus actively destroys anything we send. Venera 13 remains one of the only times humanity has ever gotten a clear, direct look at another planet's surface in color from the ground instead of from orbit. It lasted less than an hour, but in that hour, it saw something almost nobody else ever has.